Hey guys, it's Travis from the Third Gear Speed Shop with a long overdue update on this dirt track Camaro project that I started. Gosh, it's been several months ago. I had to go back through my videos to see where I last left off. But as the COVID-19 pandemic sort of brought everything to a halt, and lots of, everyone has been, staying home and practicing social distancing and whatnot. I've been getting a lot of bench time. As I've seen a lot of you guys have as well. But anyway, I dug this project out and thought I would get back to it. And I've actually made quite a bit of progress since the last video. I think in the last video I was talking about the headers, and as you can see here, I'll just try to get a close-up view of it. I got the headers, the engine is in place, and then on out the side, so this is where they exit, and I don't know if you can see that, but there's a couple of header collectors in there, and so that's where I left off in the last video. And since then I've pretty much completed the chassis. I got the front bars around the engine, I got the radiator in place, and then I made a little driver compartment, got all my tin work done and side door bars made. What else? Got the battery in place. The battery goes back there, and I don't know if you can see those a little right in front of the battery. There's like a little silver, actually no, I'm wrong, it's up here. There's a little silver T's. There's a T there, and then on the other side I'm going to try my hand at doing brakes, running brake lines on this one. Got my pedals in place, my gauges. I've got holes drilled for my fire extinguisher and shifter, and then I've got a little place where I can just drop my seat in once it's detailed. And let's see, what else have we got to show you? I went ahead and sorted out the rear end. It's got another little T-fitting. I just made those out of like little jewelry ferrules, I think you call them. Or they're just like little pieces of metal tube, little barrels that you can get at the craft store. And that's just going to help me locate my brake lines once those go in. Got my brake rotors, disc brakes on the rear, and then I made these like little pins out of styrene rods so that I can locate the leaf springs into the rear end. Basically did that for mock-up purposes and stuff like that. Got a little breather on the rear end. And then on the bottom here, I don't have them to show you, but I've got these little brackets here to mount the shocks. So my rear end is all ready for paint. My chassis is ready for paint. And then it's not installed, but I thought I would show you guys this. This is a rack and pinion steering that I got from a AMT 32 Phantom Vicky kit. I think most AMT, maybe Monogram, street rods come with a rack and pinion steering. And after doing some research, I found out that an early 80s dirt track car like this one would have run rack and pinion steering. So I replaced the steering arms, or the steering rod from the NASCAR kit, which the lower A arms, which actually goes on the car like this, the lower A arms and everything This piece here is from the NASCAR kit, and then the rack and pinion unit is from the AMT Phantom Vicky. And I also have just a little piece of styrene with that hole drilled in it there, that I'm going to be running some power steering lines from the power steering unit on the engine, and then another one I need to drill another hole to go to the power steering reservoir. So this piece is done and ready for paint, except for that one hole I got to drill. And I also made some shocks, some coilover shocks to go in the front. I used the NASCAR shock as a base. I don't know if I can get any closer and still have focus, but I used the NASCAR shock as a base, and then just coiled some craft wire around it. I'm going to leave that the color of the craft wire. I'm going to leave that red, paint the rest probably silver or black or something. And then so this would be the top, if it'll focus. And so I just used styrene tube to make little caps on the top and bottom. And then if you look on if I can point it out right here, I made like little brackets that the shock will fit into. So I got to fit the shock through the A-arm. Had to modify the A-arm a little bit to accept the coilover setup. But coilover shocks and rack and pinion steering were used in the early 80s, 81, 82, something like that for these cars. So I got all that set up. And last but not least, I've been working on body. I think the body's ready for paint now. I don't know if you can see it, but I went ahead and drilled small holes and put in tiny little pieces of styrene for the rivets. I didn't want to just paint the rivets on. I actually wanted to have the rivets, part of the structure of the textured raised area for the rivets. So I went ahead and did all the front rivets. Basically everywhere I cut for the body seam, there's some right there, I riveted just like you would, in the real world. You can see them pretty good there. Little pop rivets. And then once the body's painted, I'll go back and just hit those with either silver paint or chrome pen or something like that, just to give it that extra little added realism. Really love these bodies. They're great to work with, and adding that extra little pop rivet detail, I think will really enhance it. I also made a cover to go on top of this for the exhaust, and that'll be painted like an aluminum color. And I made a spoiler as well, and as you can see here, I just put a piece of right angled stock, and then the spoiler will glue up against this, and I'll probably be painting that aluminum too. So the body pretty much is ready for paint. I've got the hood, and I've test fitted the body onto the frame. I've got little points here. I don't know if you can see them. These little posts here and here. And then in the rear, I don't know if you can see this either, but I've got some angled stock right here that I'll be gluing the body once it's all said and done. So honestly, that was the hardest part about this whole project so far, is getting the body to fit this scratch built frame and roll bar setup. And once I had those points in position where they needed to be, I've got 4 points that I can either epoxy or super glue the body onto once it's all said and done, and the body's not going anywhere. So at first I thought it was going to be somewhere along the bottom, but I was wrong about that. In reality, there was probably like a bar that went the length of the car, and the sides of the body would be pop riveted to that. I may still do that, may not. That's a little bit up in the air, but I do know that these 4 points are going to be, where the body is going to be glued to the frame. So, yeah, so that's where I'm at with this. Next project, or next mini project, I guess you could say, with this one is engine detail. And as you can see, I've already started the radiator. I've got the radiator, upper radiator hose. I've got a couple brackets. Next, I'm going to be doing the lower radiator hose, carbs, power steering pump. I'll do all my pulleys up front. I've got a Holley carburetor for it. I've got a magneto ordered for the ignition. And again, all of this is just based on research and photos that I've seen of what these cars ran. So that's going to be a lot of fun, is to start the detail work. A lot of the bigger stuff, like the getting the frame done was huge, and getting the roll bars and everything out of the way was a big undertaking. So now we can move on to the fun stuff, like all the small little wires and plumbing and fittings and things like that. And hopefully I will be able to get some of these components in paint by the next video. And I promise I will not lapse in getting a video up. There's no excuse. I've got plenty of time these days with everything in quarantine or whatever. So been watching a lot of NASCAR. NASCAR's been back with no fans, and they've been doing a lot of midweek races, and it's been a lot of fun keeping up with that. Been playing a lot of NASCAR Heat also, which has been a lot of fun. I don't know if you guys play that or are into NASCAR Heat, but that's been a lot of fun. So yeah, just been keeping busy, and hopefully by the next video we'll have some of this stuff in paint and detailed, so it'll start looking more realistic. So please stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Thanks so much for all the new subscribers out there, and stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.